Peace, I'm Natia Sissy, your Black Fertility Goddess. My goal is to help you to have more beautiful Black babies. Please make sure that you join my newsletter. The link is in the description. And today we are talking about how to know when you're ovulating. You can email me any questions or comments that you have. Visit my website at blackfertilitysecrets.wordpress.com, where I have lots of blogs that can help you increase your fertility naturally. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Visit me on all social media such as Instagram and Twitter as well. You can also please share my video on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the like. So today's day 5 of how to increase your fertility naturally, and today we're talking about how to know when you ovulate. Knowing when you ovulate is definitely one way that can help you to have a baby naturally, because you don't necessarily need all these technological procedures or equipment or means. And actually, a lot of times when you go for tests and you go to see your gynecologist and your doctor and they're trying to run all these tests and everything on you, sometimes they're actually doing the test on the wrong date, and that is because they're not taking the actual necessary time to figure out if you're actually ovulating or at what point you are in your cycle. One thing that could either help you to boost your fertility naturally or to even help you in other means is to actually know when that's occurring. To know when you ovulate, there are different ways. I would say that some women probably actually know when they're ovulating. They just they may sense something going on in their body, but they just maybe not know exactly what it is. But it's actually ovulation, where you may be feeling a menstrual type pain, but it's not during the time of your menstruation. One way to know when you're ovulating is to be able to track your temperature, and it's called your basal body temperature. And that is when you use a basal body thermometer to basically take your temperature every morning, but preferably at the same time, so that you get a more precise reading, to get a good, accurate reading and be able to tell when your temperature drops. Because when you release the egg, the hormones shift and your temperature drops, then it kind of rises again. So that's one way to know when you ovulate. It's also a good way to know where you are at in your cycle, whether you are pregnant or not, whether your hormones are balanced or not, and to basically just help a woman to get her to know her body. And a lot of times the man can help you as well, help you to wake up, because it's around that time that you need to take your temperature or just to write the reading down. So you can also go and check my video that I have on my YouTube channel for a better understanding of that. And I will also be making more videos on the basal body temperature. So the next step to knowing when you ovulate is to track your cervical fluid. And in order to do that, you are checking your cervical fluid every morning, and in some cases you may do it also throughout the day, and you can do it before you get up out the bed in the morning, although I don't think it's actually necessary. You look at your toilet paper that you use to wipe yourself with and be able to distinguish what type of cervical fluid it is. So you also want to make sure that you're not mistaking it for semen, but there are ways to tell, right, and to make sure that you know exactly whether it's your cervical fluid or not. And other people go by the word cervical mucus. It's definitely a good way to help you, because it can get really stretchy when you are actually ovulating. And if you use your fingers, this is kind of one way to tell. You can also reach up into your cervix and get fluid from there, but sometimes it could be just a little bit different, right? And while you're at it, you can be checking your cervical position, which is a third way of being able to tell whether you're ovulating. And I actually like this way. A lot of people don't like checking their cervical position because they feel as though it's just too intimate, it's just too touchy-feely, and it's like you're really up inside of your vagina trying to tell whether how it feels. Is the cervix soft, is it open, checking the cervical O's and so forth. And I actually prefer that method to some degree, because it's like it's almost fail-proof. If your cervix is open, that sperm can get in there. Whereas the other times when the cervix is low and it's closed and it's like as hard as your nose, it's like, you kind of know that the sperm is going to have to work to get in there. So cervical position is definitely a good way. And it's a good way to get to know your body, right? And there's no reason why anybody should be ashamed or should feel like, that's just too much for them. But if you have a fertility mindset and, you love and you cherish and you respect your body, then you really should have no problem doing that. So another way to tell, or some other ways, are what are called secondary fertility signs, right? And this may be the texture of or the firmness or so forth of your breast. It could be the change in your voice from maybe a lower pitch to a higher pitch. It could be you giving off pheromones that maybe other men pick up. And some women even are more likely to cheat around the time that they are ovulating. So if you're feeling a little, turned on by a lot of different things, that could be a sign that you're ovulating. And then there are other fertility signs, right? So this is another step. It's separate from what I'm calling the secondary fertility signs. Other fertility signs could be things that maybe you've picked up from your culture that have told you about, like when you're ovulating, based on just the history of whatever country or culture that you're coming from. They may have their own little kind of wives' tales or folk tales or, methods of identifying. They may wear waist beads. And if the waist bead, goes below a certain point, or, just different ways of telling whether you're ovulating or not, or, how fertile you may be. So the last way that I'm saying here, and it's not obviously not limited to this list, right, is to actually chart. So once you put all this together on a chart, you combine your basal body temperature with the fluid from your cervix. You're tracking this based on with different symbols and notes and so forth on a chart, and you're tracking your cervical position, and you're maybe writing down how you were feeling today, what your fertility signs were, what your secondary fertility signs were, and then you're judging this based off of maybe what you may have learned from your culture or so forth about other fertility signs. And then you chart this, and then you get used to charting. You chart maybe 2 or 3 months, or you chart over the course of a year. Hopefully you get pregnant before then, right? But once you get used to what your chart looks like, you can kind of tell when you're going to ovulate again, right? And then you can also be able to time intercourse for when you think you're going to ovulate again. So these are the 6 steps to know when you're ovulating. You could also read more about this at blackfertilitysecrets.wordpress.com. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and email me any questions at blackfertility@gmail.com. Be sure to also join my free newsletter for 7 days of tips on how to increase your fertility naturally. And check out my next video on how to live a fertility-friendly lifestyle so that you can increase your fertility naturally. Please share your experience with knowing when you ovulate in the comment section. And also, don't forget to share this video with one friend who's trying to conceive, one who's not trying to get pregnant, and one who's not even thinking about fertility. Peace.